you may think that your journey, your mistakes, your sin could actually make God look better, right? Because people might think that if my sin is actually showing that God is righteous, or my sin in my life, the fact that I make mistakes is actually showing who God really is, how good he is. But God doesn't need my help or your help. Right? God is already great. God is already gracious. And the fact that we sin still and he doesn't smite us, he doesn't kill us off, and he still loves us, it's the fact that shows the gap between how much he really cares about us and what we are actually doing with our lives. In the book of Romans chapter 3, verses 4 and 5, it goes, and verses 3 and 4, it goes on to say, what if some were unfaithful? Will their unfaithfulness nullify God's faithfulness? Not at all. Let God be true and every human being a liar. As it is written, so that you may be proved right when you speak and prevail when you judge. Know that as of right now, you might think that just because you are making a mistake, you might as well keep making more. Just because your life is already not going the best way, you might as well just keep it the same way it is. Let me tell you something. The reason why you are chosen to do that is because you had the strength to do it. God was going to give you the ability to leave that situation, to do better, and to exit out. Like, we're never going to be sin free. But just know that that's because God didn't want us to get rid of him. Not to feel as if we can be like we can do it on our own. I don't need God. That's the total opposite of what sin is even here for, right? Sin came because of what we did, right? So we didn't listen to God. So something that had to become between us was sin. That's the only thing separating us between us and God. But when Christ came down and showed you that it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, and what you have done, you can be forgiven. Sin is actually the measurement between you and God. And the more you may sin and the more you may think that it is okay and I might as well keep doing it because I've already been doing it and this is easy, is you choosing the easy way out. You being a coward and you giving up. And if people try to say that I'm not afraid, I don't fear anything, I don't care about this, it's just the way I am, are liars. And they might think that that's because they're not strong enough to realize that they can change. They're not strong enough to even want to change. So you can think that you being righteous is showing how righteous God really is. But you being righteous is not proving anything for God. God doesn't need us to prove anything for him. God has already proved enough that he has done within us, right? So we may think if my mess makes God look holy, then what's the problem, right? But it's the same thing as saying if there's a dirty window, right? And if the sun is peeping inside of it, and it might make the sunlight look brighter because the window is dirty, that means I might as well keep it dirty. If I'm already blinded to sin and my decisions are wrong and the enemy has me in his clutches, but I might as well ignore it because the easiest way for me to do is actually ignore it, keep the blindfold on. Because as soon as you decide to take the blindfold off, your life will change. It might be hard, but your life will change. And we're looking for success in this life. We're looking for good, for justice, for self-control, for righteousness, for peace, for tranquility. We're looking for all these things in life. And how do you get that, right? Because there's nothing that we can do for God. God is already good. God is already great. God is already just, right? So we can't think that we improve God's image. We are just exposing the gap between us and who he truly is, which is good, which is great, which is amazing, which is omnipotent, which is all-knowing, which is being able to be so potent, so pure that he can do all, be all, and be outside of time all at the same time. He created us in his image, in his likeness, in his uniqueness, in order to fulfill different purposes and different plans on this life, in this planet, as he saw fit, right? So the deeper truth though, wait, what are we looking at here? We have to decide that whenever we are sinning, that's when we find patience. That's when we find mercy. That's when we find strength in our weakness, right? That's when we find forgiveness. It's in our times that we are sinning and God is still loving us. God is still choosing you. God is still wants you to come back. So you have to realize that God is pursuing you. But you have to be able to turn around and stop running away. God is pursuing you, but he's not chasing you. Pursuing is he is actively wanting you to turn back. But if you do not choose him, he cannot chase you down. He's not going to force you, because if he forces you, that's not free will. And he loves you too much for that. So Paul was really on to something. You think that because of what you're doing is actually making God look more righteous. But let me tell you something. Humble yourself. You cannot do anything, you can't say anything, and you can't think anything that God hasn't already done, already thought, already planned out. He already knows everything, every decision that you're going to make. He's going to know if you call out to him and you actually mean it, or you call out to him and only when you're in times of trouble. Are you going to call out to, are you going to pray when it's good times, or are you only going to pray when you're confused and he's not answering your prayers the way you want them to be answered? We have to understand that there's a big gap between us and Christ in the way that he lives, in the way that he carried himself, in the way that he was a servant. Even whenever we were supposed to serve him, he served us at the maximum level and never asked for anything in return other than to have belief, other than to have faith and hope, things that ain't gotta cost you no money. But the government and these people want to ask you for bill money. They want to ask you to pay this note, pay this insurance, to do all this stuff, man. And we sacrifice our life and time to do that. But when God is asking for your time, when God is asking for you to do better, when God is asking for you, you got to open up your schedule. You got to figure out some time, and you don't even realize that if you make a little bit of time for God, God's going to make a lot of time up for you. So be mindful. There is nothing you can do that's going to make God more righteous. God is already righteous. If we can just fill in the gap, then we can be right along with him. We want to be able to be in the kingdom. We want to be able to have the promise. Don't quit when you're in the middle. Quit when you're done. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me on this episode, bro. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on the channel. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.